What if the reason you feel entirely stuck in life has absolutely nothing to do with a lack of ambition,
Right.
and it has literally everything to do with the fact that you spend, 6 hours a day working a full-time job that pays you exclusively in anxiety?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a heavy way to put it, but so true.
Because, you know the exact feeling. You
Mhm.
listening right now, you know it. You sit down on the couch at 3 p.m. just to check one notification.
Just one.
Right. And suddenly it's 6 p.m. The room has literally gotten dark.
Yep. The sun has set.
Exactly. The sun has set and a massive chunk of your day has just evaporated, and you're left sitting there in the cold glow of the screen with this incredibly specific hollow digital hangover.
Yeah, that digital hangover, I mean, that is basically the defining psychological state of the modern era. We often interpret that heavy, vague sense of falling behind as like a personal failing.
Like we're doing something wrong.
Right, like we think it means we aren't working hard enough or that we've made the wrong choices. But in reality, what we're actually experiencing is a highly engineered biological response to our environment.
Welcome to today's deep dive. Our mission today is to, well, uncover and dismantle those invisible psychological barriers that are silently dictating our daily lives.
The things keeping us in that exact state of paralysis.
Exactly. And we are pulling from some really profound insights today. Specifically, we're diving into the core arguments presented by the Creator Paint teacher in their fascinating video. It's called Every Realization That Will Change Your Life Forever Explained.
It's a great piece.
It really is. And the central thesis we're exploring is that this feeling of being stuck is largely an illusion. It's a mirage created entirely by our daily habits, from how we consume information to how we fundamentally define success.
So, okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Because the material starts with a concept that we all intuitively know, but we aggressively ignore it. And that is the information diet. Right, the information diet.
Right.
It's a framework that forces us to look at our mental consumption with the exact same scrutiny that we apply to our physical consumption.
Which makes so much sense when you think about it.
Because, I mean, if you sat around eating literal junk food for breakfast, lunch, and dinner,
You feel awful.
right, you wouldn't be shocked when you woke up feeling physically terrible, lethargic and sick. We inherently understand cause and effect when it comes to the human body.
We know that input dictates output.
Exactly. But we completely abandon that logic when it comes to the human mind. We feed our brains a relentless diet of high-stakes conflict, global catastrophes, comment section vitriol.
The comment sections.
Yeah, and then we're somehow bewildered as to why we feel so incredibly drained.
Because you're scrolling through endless drama and pure negativity, post after post. And it feels like a normal, harmless routine because, well, everyone around you is doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's normalized.
But what you consume mentally shapes the lens through which you view literally everything else. If your primary input is stress and outrage, your mind is going to start expecting stress and outrage in the physical world.
And to understand why that happens, we really have to look at the evolutionary mechanics of the brain. The human brain is fundamentally an adaptation and prediction machine.
Okay, so it adapts to whatever we give it.
Right. It normalizes whatever environment you place it in to keep you safe. So if you're constantly feeding it a stream of highly combative, dangerous scenarios from your social feeds,
It thinks you're in danger.
exactly, your nervous system calibrates to that specific baseline. It assumes you are literally living in a war zone.
Wow.
So the amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, it stays constantly activated. It essentially signals to the rest of the body, the world is a dangerous place. We must remain on high alert at all times.
So that vague feeling of being stuck or anxious that just permeates your whole day, that isn't a personality flaw.
No, not at all.
It's your nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do based on the data you're feeding it.
Precise.
And the sheer volume of that data is staggering. I mean, averaging 6 hours of screen time a day is the literal equivalent of working a full-time job.
It's wild to think about it that way.
Let that sink in for you listening right now. A 40-hour work week.
Yeah.
Except there is no paycheck at the end of the week. There is no progress toward a personal goal, and there are absolutely no real memories being formed. It's just consumed, vanished time.
Just gone.
But I want to push back a little here because when we talk about this, it often sounds like we're just blaming people for having no self-control.
Right, the old willpower argument.
Yeah, if these apps are designed by absolute geniuses with bottomless budgets to trap us, is willpower actually enough to fix our information diet? Like, are we just completely outgunned here?
We are totally outgunned. Willpower is a deeply flawed strategy for this specific problem. You are up against a billion-dollar algorithm and, willpower depletes over the course of a day as you make decisions.
But the algorithm never gets tired.
And the algorithm never sleeps. And this isn't an accident of design. It's a highly intentional, engineered environment. Tech companies employ massive teams of behavioral psychologists to research exactly how to keep human eyeballs glued to that small rectangle.
So how do they actually do it?
Let's look at the mechanics. They utilize something called variable reward schedules.
Okay, wait, that's the exact same psychology as a slot machine, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
It's like carrying around a portable casino in your pocket. Every time you pull the lever or, swipe down to refresh the feed, you have no idea what the payout will be.
Right.
It might be a funny video, it might be an enraging political opinion, or it might be nothing at all. And that uncertainty is what forces the brain to constantly check back.
Precisely. I mean, B.F. Skinner proved this decades ago with pigeons.
Yeah.
If you give a reward every single time a button is pressed,
Yeah.
the subject eventually gets bored.
They figure it out.
Right. But if you make the reward unpredictable, the subject will press the button obsessively. Combine that with color psychology, like making notification badges of vibrant, urgent red.
Oh, like a warning sign.
Yeah, a color our brains are evolutionarily wired to notice as a sign of danger or ripe fruit. You put all that together and you have a recipe for total behavioral hijacking.
So what's the fix?
The solution isn't trying harder to resist the screen. The solution is auditing the inputs. It's recognizing that the screen is not like a neutral window into the world, but a highly curated funnel designed to extract your attention.
Once you realize the game is rigged at a mechanical level, you stop shaming yourself for losing.
Exactly.
And you start changing the rules of how you engage with the device entirely. So if our digital diet is constantly hijacking our reward system, feeding us this steady stream of engineered desires, and showing us the highlight reels of what everyone else has.
Oh, the highlight reels.
Right, it leads into the next massive barrier. Because when we feel hollow from all that digital consumption, we usually try to fix it by acquiring things. We try to buy our way out of the void.
Yes.
And that introduces a classic psychological concept, the hedonic treadmill.
And what's fascinating here is that the hedonic treadmill is the perfect metaphor for the illusion of arrival.
The illusion of arrival, I like that.
It's that deeply held, persistent belief that says, once I get this specific thing, I will finally feel satisfied and my life will begin.
Like once I get the house.
Right, or a new phone, hitting a certain salary bracket, getting married, landing a specific job title. We convince ourselves that the external acquisition will permanently alter our internal state.
And the ultimate relatable example here from the source material is buying a new gaming PC.
Oh, yeah.
You spend months agonizing over it, telling yourself, if I can just ditch this clunky overheating laptop and get a proper setup, everything will be amazing.
Oh, it would be so productive.
I'll play all these new games, I'll be happy. So you finally save up, you unbox it, you set up the dual monitors, and for the first few days, you feel like a literal god.
The graphics are incredible.
They're flawless, but then give it 3 weeks, the magic fades. Slowly, without you even noticing, that incredible new machine just becomes the furniture.
It's just the new normal.
Yeah, and eventually you don't even play games on it anymore. You're just using a $3,000 supercomputer to watch the exact same videos you watched on the crappy laptop.
It's so true. And to understand why that magic fades, we have to look at why human beings adapt to pleasure in the first place.
Okay, lay it on me.
That initial spike in dopamine you feel when you unbox the computer is thrilling. But your brain cannot sustain that chemical high indefinitely.
It would be too much.
It would be biologically exhausting. So your baseline level of happiness regulates, you revert to your normal state, and this is actually an evolutionary survival mechanism. Well, think about our ancient ancestors. If an early human killed a mammoth and thought, excellent, I've achieved my goal, I am perfectly satisfied and will never need anything else.
They just sit there.
Right. They would have starved to death a month later.
Yeah.
Dissatisfaction is a survival tool. It kept our ancestors moving, hunting, and innovating.
But in the modern era of absolute abundance, that survival tool misfires constantly. We aren't hunting mammoths anymore.
No. We're hunting promotions and luxury cars.
Right, but the biological mechanism is exactly the same. We run and run to reach the next goal, but the scenery stays exactly the same. But doesn't that sound incredibly bleak?
It can, yeah.
Like, if achieving our goals just leads to a fading sense of satisfaction, aren't we just doomed to be perpetually disappointed? Is the takeaway here just to, like, give up on wanting things?
Well, it only sounds bleak if you believe that satisfaction is a permanent state you can purchase.
Mhm.
In reality, understanding the hedonic treadmill is incredibly freeing.
Really? Free?
Absolutely. Because once you accept that the new car or the new job won't magically solve your internal state, you can stop placing such an impossible burden on those external things.
Oh, I see.
You can enjoy the process of striving, the process of building a career or saving for a goal without the crushing delusion that it will fundamentally fix you. The goal itself is just a mirage that keeps the treadmill spinning. Happiness is not a destination you arrive at.
It's woven into the very steps you take while you're moving.
Exactly.
Okay, so it removes the pressure. But realizing that you're stuck on this treadmill or, looking back and realizing you've wasted years of your life and thousands of dollars chasing a metaphorical gaming PC you don't even care about, that can trigger a really heavy, sinking feeling.
It really can.
It makes you feel completely trapped by your past decisions. You think, well, I chose the wrong major, or I stayed in the wrong relationship for a decade, and now my life is ruined. And this is where we have to talk about the myth of the hard lock.
Right, so in video games, a hard lock is a state where the game is broken. You've made a sequence of choices or encountered a glitch that means you cannot progress no matter what you do.
You're just stuck.
You're permanently stuck, and the only option is to delete the save file and start over from scratch. And far too many people subconsciously apply this exact concept to their real physical lives.
They really do.
They believe there's an invisible, official schedule they were supposed to follow, and because they deviated from it, they are hard-locked.
They think that because they made a major mistake at 25, the rest of their life is just a waiting room. But the empowering truth from the source material is that there is no official schedule. You can restart any time.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this comes down to the immense power of internal framing.
Framing is everything.
It really is. The external events of our lives are largely neutral until we assign a specific meaning to them. Like, two people can experience the exact same devastating setback, say, a massive business failure. One person looks at it and sees a total, defining failure. They tell themselves they are incompetent. But the other person looks at the exact same bankruptcy and sees a highly expensive, deeply critical lesson.
One person experiences a rejection, the other person experiences a redirection.
Yes. If you constantly frame your missteps as permanent losses, your life will inevitably feel like one long, inescapable losing streak. The belief that you are stuck is quite literally the only thing actually keeping you stuck.
Right, right. And here's where it gets really interesting, because framing things as a lesson makes total intellectual sense. I get it. But let's talk about the emotional reality of this, because starting over is wildly uncomfortable.
Oh, it's brutal.
It feels like losing time. Let's say you've been walking 10 miles in the wrong direction. You suddenly realize the compass is off. Turning around feels like admitting defeat. It physically hurts the ego to admit that those 10 miles were the wrong path. So how does a person actually flip that switch from seeing a loss to seeing a lesson in the heat of the moment when they're standing there tired, frustrated, and looking at a 10-mile walk back to the starting line?
That is the crux of the human challenge. The discomfort is intensely real, and we shouldn't pretend it's easy to just, think positive.
Exactly.
It hurts because our ego is inextricably attached to the sunk cost. The time, the money, the youth, the effort we've already spent on the wrong path. The brain hates wasting energy.
So how do we get past that?
Flipping that switch requires uncoupling your fundamental self-worth from the outcome of that specific journey. It's realizing that the 10 miles you walked in the wrong direction were not a waste of time, because now you have the physical and mental stamina of someone who can walk 10 miles.
Oh, I love that. You kept the stamina.
Yes, you built resilience. You gathered vital data on what terrain to avoid.
The miles weren't wasted because they upgraded your capacity. The only true waste of time would be walking an 11th mile in a direction you absolutely know is wrong, simply out of a stubborn refusal to admit you made a mistake.
Exactly. Finding what is truly right for you takes time, and it takes multiple tries. I mean, it is statistically improbable that you will choose the right career, the right partner, and the right city on your very first attempt at age 22.
It really is. So Let's say you've internalized this. You've forgiven yourself for the wrong turns. You've given yourself permission to wipe the slate clean, step off the treadmill, and restart.
Okay.
You know you aren't hard-locked, but now you're faced with a terrifying blank page. Where do you go next? If you aren't chasing society's predetermined goals anymore, you have to write your own script.
Which is daunting.
Very. Which leads us to a profound realization. Meaning is a highly personal task, and it absolutely cannot be outsourced to society.
Because from a very young age, we are handed a universal script for what a successful life is supposed to look like. And it is incredibly rigid.
Get the grades.
Right. Get pristine grades, attend a prestigious university, secure a high-paying corporate job, buy a house with a mortgage, get married, and quietly coast into retirement. We adopt this script because it's safe and it's what everyone else is doing.
But you, and only you, can give your life actual meaning.
Yes.
To make this concrete, let's look at the visceral reality of two different lives. Let's picture an executive who followed the universal script perfectly.
Okay, the golden child.
Right. They have the high-paying job, the massive house, the impressive LinkedIn profile. But their actual day-to-day reality is answering frantic emails at 11 p.m. on a Sunday night while their family watches a movie downstairs without them.
Oh, well, that's sad.
Their stomach is in knots about a quarterly report. They have the societal package, but they feel entirely empty and trapped by golden handcuffs.
Yeah.
Contrast that with someone who lives an incredibly simple life. Let's say they work a modest job, they have a steady routine, and their greatest joy is taking a long walk with their dog every single evening.
I love that.
They aren't stressed about scaling or corporate ladder. They feel completely 100% fulfilled.
And the core difference between those two lives is not the external wealth or the job title. It is alignment with personal values.
Personal value.
Right. The person with the simple life has figured out what genuinely matters to their specific nervous system. In this case, peace, stability, and connection with an animal.
While the executive is chasing something else entirely.
The executive is chasing status and societal expectations, which are endless, unquenchable, and ultimately hollow if they don't align with what that person actually values deep down. No one else gets to define what makes your life meaningful, not the current cultural trends, not the expectations of your parents, not the judgment of your peers.
Because at the end of the day, you are the one who has to actually sit in the silent moments of your life and live with your choices. Which means you alone have to decide what makes those choices worth the sacrifice.
Absolutely.
But I want to pose a real question to you listening right now. If you've spent your entire life being told by that small, glowing rectangle in your pocket what a successful life looks like.
Which we all have.
Right. If you've been bombarded with images of luxury vacations and hustle culture since you were 12 years old, how do you even begin to untangle society's expectations from what actually makes you happy? How do you know if you are the executive who genuinely wants to be a dog walker, or if you actually just want to be the executive?
It requires a massive intentional reduction in the noise. You simply cannot hear your own internal voice if the algorithm is constantly screaming at you about what you lack.
So how do we turn down the volume?
Untangling those expectations often starts with a thought experiment.
Mm-hmm.
Removing the audience.
Removing the audience.
Ask yourself, if you were to achieve your current biggest goal, but you were legally forbidden from telling anyone about it, and you could never post a single photo of it online, would you still want to do it? Are you pursuing a medical degree because the human body fascinates you, or are you pursuing it because you are terrified of how your parents will perceive you if you don't? When you strip away the audience, the things that remain are the things you genuinely value.
That is a phenomenal litmus test. If you take away the Instagram post, does the desire survive?
Exactly.
Once you cut through that noise and figure out what actually matters to you, something very confronting happens. You are left staring right at the things you need to change in your daily life to get there.
The hard truths.
Yeah. And usually, if we are being brutally honest, there's absolutely no mystery about what those things are. Which brings us to the final and perhaps most physically difficult realization: taking the hardest first step and confronting the obvious.
Because we often pretend we are confused about what to do next in life. We read endless self-help books and listen to interviews searching for a magic bullet.
Guilty as charged.
Right. But there is a brilliant exercise that cuts right through that feigned confusion. It simply asks, what would actually improve my life if I started it today?
And I guarantee that you, listening right now, could come up with at least 5 things instantly. Think about it. What are they? It's probably not some grand, complex philosophical shift.
No, it rarely is.
It's usually incredibly mundane. It's getting 8 hours of sleep instead of revenge bedtime procrastinating.
Yep.
It's finally opening the textbook to study for that certification you've been putting off. It's just chopping up some vegetables and eating better food instead of ordering takeout for the 4th time this week.
Deep down, we already have a crystal clear idea of what needs to happen next. We rarely suffer from a lack of information.
So what's the holdup?
We suffer from the fact that we're just waiting for an easier option to present itself. We want the result, but we desperately want to avoid the friction of the process. And this raises an important question. Why do we avoid the obvious things that we know will unequivocally help us?
Right, why do we sabotage ourselves?
It all comes down to the dread of beginning. Think about the last time you had to start something you genuinely didn't want to do, whether it was cleaning your garage, having a difficult conversation, or just opening your laptop to start a daunting assignment.
It feels awful.
Before you start, the task feels impossibly heavy. The prefrontal cortex knows it's a good idea, but the limbic system, the emotional, energy-conserving part of the brain, rebels.
Your brain literally starts negotiating with you like a hostage negotiator.
It really does.
It's incredible to observe. It will serve up 100 perfectly logical sounding excuses to delay the action. It tells you, oh, the lighting in here isn't quite right for studying, or I should really deep clean my keyboard before I start typing this essay.
Or the classic, I'll just check my phone one more time to clear my notifications, and then I'll be totally focused.
Yes, every time.
And the brain is just trying to protect you from perceived exertion. But the reality is that once you finally push through that initial resistance and begin, the task is almost never as bad as your brain predicted it would be.
It never is.
The hardest part is not the work itself. The work is usually just a series of mundane, manageable steps. The hardest part is purely psychological. It's getting over that initial spike of limbic friction.